everyone. So once again, we give thanks to Wikipedia contributors and editors and remind you to support Wikipedia if you can in these challenging times. Kicking off, Grand Nagus Zek, the leader of the Ferengi, plans to establish a business presence in the Gamma Quadrant. Zek appoints Quark as his representative to negotiate with a species called the Docile. Quark asked Pell, one of his employees, to assist him. Pell provides to be a valuable assistant. However, unbeknownst to Quark, Pell is a female. Ferengi females are not allowed to wear clothing, earn money, or travel, so she is forced to keep her identity a secret. It does get better. Bear with us. Meanwhile, Pell begins to fall in love with Quark. She confesses her secret to Science Officer Jadzia Dax. Quark and Pell asked to purchase 10,000 vats of Tulaberry wine from the Docile. They're close to making a deal when Zek informs Quark that he wants 100,000 vats. The Docile abandon the deal. Quark and Pell follow them to their homeworld, where they learn that 100,000 vats is more Tulaberry wine than exists on the planet. However, a Docile offers to put them in contact with another race, the Karema, a member of what she calls the Dominion. Quark and Pell realize Zek's true intentions. He has no interest in Tulaberry wine. He wants to learn about the Dominion. Quark and Pell return to DS9. Whilst they were gone, Quark's brother Ron, jealous of Quark's preference for Pell over him, discovered Pell's true identity. He tells Quark, who realizes his career could be ruined if he were known to have done business with a female. Quark confronts Pell, offering her money to leave and start a new life in order to save her and himself from punishment. Pell confesses her feelings for Quark and pleads with him to come with her to the Gamma Quadrant, where no one would mind that she's a Ferengi female who makes profit. Quark refuses, though he does have feelings for Pell as well. At a dinner celebrating Quark's negotiating success, Pell reveals her identity to Zek. Zek threatens to put Pell and Quark in prison, but Quark defends Pell by observing that Zek himself had knowingly allowed a female Ferengi to represent him. Realizing that they were all misled, they decide to keep Pell's identity a secret. After sharing a heartfelt goodbye with Quark, Pell leaves to start a new life in the Gamma Quadrant. Sometime later, Dax comments that Quark will miss Pell, though he tries to deny it. Scene.
Good summary. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Oh, and thank you also on that note to Memory Alpha for its extensive detailing of Star Trek names, places, and events. I do a lot of looking up on there in prep for these episodes. The Star Trek Minutiae website, having all of the shooting scripts available, and the Trek Core website for screen caps. We'll be showing some images from the episode as we go. So yeah, shall I give my first impressions of this episode when I watched it?
Please do, go for it.
I really enjoyed it. I'm liking the Ferengi stories so far, and this one really goes further into Ferengi gender norms than any previous episode has. So far, I think we've had females, and the fact that they're behind closed doors, they're not allowed to wear clothes. And we now learn a bit more about how gender in their society actually works. And I really like that in order to explore that, they made a story that had a woman finding a way to pass as male so as to access parts of life that she otherwise couldn't. I think it's really well done. It's very expressly not a trans episode. Pell doesn't wish that she were male. She simply wants to access things in Ferengi life that women currently can't. She reverts to her female self as soon as she gets away into her own space, and she's in no way dysphoric about being female. So it's a nice, straightforward, gender swap, cross-dressing story rather than looking at trans politics or the reality of trans lives. It therefore doesn't manage to be transphobic in any way, shape, or form, which is a joy. I mean, to be fair, they've already got Dax in there, who has changed gender a number of times over her life, and they've managed not to be transphobic about that either. So I'm keeping fingers crossed that DS9 is just going to remain a general transphobia-free zone, but we will see. I also really like how the episode deals with people being gay. When a character finds out that Pell is actually a woman, she's more shocked by the fact that she's a woman than the fact that she was interested in Quark. She just thought that this was a young man who fancied Quark at first.
And it was not commented on. It was taken in stride completely. And you're right, it was more the shock that, oh, you're not the gender I expected. That was the real, it was almost a pleasant contrast in it through wanting to start relief.
Absolutely, which again, I'm going to keep saying it, but for the 1990s, this was bloody phenomenal. It's incredibly well done. It's really inoffensive is too milder word for it, but it manages not to make many of the glaring mistakes that some TV shows do when they have episodes of this type. I think it's really entertaining. I loved Quark's, "Oh, that didn't happen. No, you didn't kiss me." Just the absolute denial of, "I cannot deal with that, therefore it didn't happen." He's just lighthearted. "No, didn't happen, never happened. Let's talk about profit some more." It's played for comedy, and it's making fun of the right things.
Yeah.
I think, that's what it does very strongly throughout. It's making fun of Quark's inability to express himself. I think it does mock the gender norms of our society as well as those of Ferengi society.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, there's just a great deal to enjoy in this episode. Oh, and while I remember, because Pell goes by different pronouns throughout, I'm going to switch from that now and then. I think in the scenes where she's presenting as male, I'll largely use he, him, because that's what all the characters in the room understand. I'll use she, her when it's clear that she is female or has come out as female. So yeah, I will probably mix them up as we go on, just because her presentation differs throughout and our understanding of who she is differs. So yes, I'm going to do that.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable approach, and I will do my best to match it. We will do our level best, as we always do. Right. So I don't know. I've gone back and forth on this episode. I think it does some things well, and other things it doesn't. It's tricky. It doesn't fail. It's not something like Vortex or the worst bits of of other episodes. It's just okay, except when it's good. But all in all, I feel like it's a little bit of a weak vehicle, and it's got some great bits in it. And I think if it wasn't, for Armin and Helene, who plays Pell, and the wonderful Wallace Shawn as Zek, I think they absolutely carry this episode. But if it wasn't those brilliant characters, I don't think this episode would have a lot going for it at all. I think it's played very light, which is part of the intent, certainly. But I don't know. It just left me a little bit cold at times. Just like, it wasn't bad. It just didn't grab me. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Comparing it with other DS9 episodes, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have the strong drama in it. It doesn't have, apart from the Ferengi characters, there isn't an awful lot of character work for the other cast crew to have.
There's no B plot. There is just.
That's a really good point. There isn't, apart from Rom being upset and then bringing that background, but that's all. It's all tied in with the A plot. You're right. There isn't a second set of characters having their own adventure in this one, which is unusual.
This is it. I mean, when it's going and it's good and there's stuff happening, it's great. But it just feels like the whole thing is set up to just be like, and now here's another funny moment, and now here's another. Let's keep putting these characters in situations and seeing. And it felt like a first draft script, and it really could have just done with a bit of fleshing out. I know, I'm sorry, and that's my privilege as the embittered older fan to go, well, not as good as other scripts, and I hope, Kat, that you will be the counterbalance.
And there may be something I haven't seen that much Deep Space Nine yet. I've seen the difficult first season. We're now into the difficult second season. So I don't know how good it's going to get. I haven't seen what Deep Space Nine will become over time. So there may be something of my delight is based in, I just didn't expect it to be as good as it is. And maybe when I look back later.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. And it is actually unfair to ask Kat, who's not seen any further episodes, to compare this to others. And we should judge each episode as it comes down the line, because we forget at our peril that this is a 90s TV drama, which means every episode was meant to be more or less seen in exclusion from the rest. You could hop in any week and just get your entertainment. So it's an unfair judgment I level at it. It's just, even I think TNG fans will be like, there's not enough there. There's a few tasty morsels in there, but as a meal, it just left me hungry for more.
That's fair. And actually, I think it is fair to situate it in terms of the episodes that fall around it. I've no idea what comes after it, obviously. But it's been a while since we had a good speech from Cisco. It's been a while since the station was in danger in a way that didn't just feel like a contained plot. It feels like one in a series of very self-contained plots in some ways. I think this one, it does gesture forward to other episodes that I unfortunately know are coming, because the memes, you cannot escape.
Memes.
Just those memes! So entertaining, but so demystifying. So I know that it gestures towards
Mm.
future Ferengi episodes.
Mm.
The word Dominion is mentioned for the first time in this episode. So it's definitely woven into a bigger plot. But
Mhm.
yeah, on its own, it's a relatively slight gender farce for the most part. But I think that as that, it's done really well.
No, I like your take on it there. It's very, very balanced. And
in the next scene, Pell tells Dax that he's trying some non-Ferengi food from the Reclamat because he likes to try new things. And Dax says that's unusual for a Ferengi. And Pell responds, I've never heard of a Trill who could play Tongo.
Very good point.
And Dax says, I guess that makes us both unusual. And I've put, yes, these are the two gender bendiest characters in the episode. But they are also both very cosmopolitan. And I think in a Ferengi, that's much more unusual than in a Trill. A Trill can have many lifetimes. I think that Dax isn't the first, certainly not the first Trill to have encountered the Federation. We've had other Trill in other episodes. But yeah, we've had a Ferengi scientist before now, but we haven't seen any Ferengi particularly demonstrating an interest in cultures other than their own, except to sell them things. So it's nice to see Pell enjoying food here just for the pleasure of it. Oh God, there's a horrible bit where Dax tells Pell about the time Quark took Dax to a holosuite where he'd recreated, he recreated the bedroom that she had as a child based on an overheard conversation with Kira. She says, it was a sweet gesture until he tried to kiss me. I'm just like, how was this not red flags everywhere? I mean, I can see how it might be construed as a sweet gesture. She'd been describing a place that she once had fond memories of, and Quark has recreated it for her. That he then tries to romance her there in a place that is so heavily redolent of childhood. No. Scriptwriters, could we not have chosen a nice view she'd once enjoyed, a sunset, something, maybe even something that could have romantic connotations to it that would make it more understandable? I guess the thing is that Quark's lack of understanding is part of the punchline here.
Yes. And you filter that through 90s script writing and sitcom preparation, and they're just like, oh, yeah, that'd be hilarious to do without any kind of 21st century sensitivity, which turns our stomach at the thought.
And particularly given what the holosuites are normally used for, recreating anything to do with innocence just feels like tainting it.
And we're also normalizing the fact that he basically listened into what was, not a secret private conversation, but still not a conversation that involved him, that shared personal information that wasn't. If Jadzia wanted him to know
even
this,
at a bar, a lot of those conversations happen. That kind of feels par for the course, maybe. And they presumably did have the conversation in public. But yeah, it is creepy. It's very creepy. I wish it hadn't happened.
It gets worse and worse.
More,
yeah.
Just as the anecdote goes, they're just like,
That's it. Yeah. So again, we always flag things like this. I think where at the time we might have glossed right over it because it was 1993 and we wouldn't have really subjected to this kind of analysis. But this is the 21st century. We were both products of the 21st century, and we are going to put the show through these kind of assessments because it's right to do.
And it just automatically bumps up against our 21st century sensibilities, which, as you say, we wouldn't have possessed in the 1990s.
Absolutely, but I still think we are well within our rights to go. We wouldn't sit with this.
We would have changed this somewhat.
We wouldn't do this today. So yes. So thank you, Kat. Well flagged.
As it stands, both characters laugh at just how typically Quark this is.
Okay.
Dax follows it up by casually saying, I don't care what anyone says. I love him. And Pell replies, so do I. Dax says, you really do, don't you? And still just casual and friendly. In this scene, there is very deliberately no judgment cast over Pell, who Dax still assumes to be male. For fancying Quark, nothing is made of it. I think the writers very deliberately took the view that homosexuality would be far more prevalent in the 24th century. And Dax is very cosmopolitan. She doesn't care. She says, don't try to deny it. I've seen the way you look at him. And she asks, does he know? Pell responds, he doesn't even know that I'm a female. And at this point, Dax goes, you're a woman?
So that cosmopolitan radar just completely failed Dax at this point.
I just love that in this comedic episode from the 1990s. Oh, so you, a man, fancy Quark. Does he know about it? Mm-hmm. You're a woman? What? I love that they made that the point of contention.
That's the line. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is because so little is made of that. And if all the focus is on, oh, I thought you were a man, that it's actually, yeah, it's refreshingly, incredibly open-minded for 1993, you know. And this is where Star Trek shines at being that progressive that it normalizes to the point of no comment at all. Yeah, of course, you're attracted to him. Okay,
I
that's
think
adorable.
there probably is something of towing a fine line there to people who are less aware of gayness, certainly not looking for it in a TV show. You can say, well, we never said anyone was gay. We never said homosexual. We never, we didn't do that. I think there is a line of plausible deniability there, which is part of why they do not openly discuss it. But also it is a comedy episode. Just passing it off like that and having it just, yeah, it's just out there, unnamed but recognized.
Definitely snuck by some perhaps very conservative censors who'd be like, you can't have that.
Censors and exec producers, perhaps.
There are. It's not a spoiler to say that there are other episodes that will kind of negotiate this realm, and we will have to remember this and compare and contrast again how Deep Space Nine confronts homosexuality. And see if you think that they continue to do well, do better, or maybe fall below. We shall have to see, but certainly it is a topic that it will be interesting to see how Star Trek continues to field. So we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do around it.
But what a great moment! What a great moment!
Oh, I really enjoy it. I think there are lots of points where a gender farce like this could have been done very badly. And yeah, I think they don't hit any of those stumbling blocks. I think that they negotiate it very well and very thoughtfully, certainly for the most part. Pell then goes on to explain to Dax that on her world, women aren't allowed to leave the house or wear clothes or learn to read. And I noted that Pell says women rather than females. And I think she is the only Ferengi to do so. Whenever other Ferengi talk about women, it's always females. She deliberately says women, and I think that was a choice on the writer's part to make it more grounded and more serious. She's talking about women's rights here. It isn't just, oh, we all say females all the time. It was a good choice.
Agreed.
Dax asks her why she came here, and Pell says, to acquire profit, of course. And I really like that in this scene and throughout the episode, she is a Ferengi first.
That's it.
She isn't turning her back on her culture. This isn't I can imagine an episode where a character like Pell would have burst out into the world for the first time, looked around this amazing station, seen Dax, seen Kira, seen other women who have roles in society and wants to emulate them. No, she wants to be in the society that she is in. She loves her own culture. She wants women to be treated better within it. And I really like that. I love that it isn't the standard. The Federation came in and made everything better. This is a woman making it better for herself. It's not patronizing. It's not colonialist. I'm aware that I'm a white leftist non-binary feminist and that I sound like one for so much of the time. But I just really liked this. It was done so well, either consciously or otherwise. I just love the fact that the call is coming from inside the house. It's not that she's been inspired by anyone else. This is an archetypal strong female character who's worked it out for herself and is doing it on her own fucking terms. And I love it. It's brilliant.
Hashed it to bits, Kat. What have you come away thinking about Rules of Acquisition?
I think sticking with what I first thought, I really appreciate the episode. I think that for a comedy, it hit all the right notes. The comedy was aimed in the right direction at all times. It doesn't make fun of women. It doesn't make fun of a woman for wanting to be a man. She's not ridiculed by the way she's framed in the episode. It does a good job of not confusing it with any trans issues. She does not want to be a man, and that's never said in the episode. It just doesn't come up. It's very clearly about a woman who wants to progress her rights and the rights of other women in her culture. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot more progressive than I would have expected for an episode of this shape. And yeah, I liked it a lot more than I expected to.
I'm really glad to hear that. And I like that we are continuing in this theme of seeing episodes of Star Trek which transcend what we would expect. And it's more progressive than we would have expected. And there are points where it falls down, but we can almost always pin them to very unconscious 90s prevailing thoughts, tendencies, beliefs, values of the time. So it never feels like anything's done maliciously or for cheap laughs or at the expense of anything that we would be horribly offended by. Even the points where Major Kira gets that very unwanted attention from Zek, it's not done, exploitatively or very hostilely to her character.
Yeah. Yeah, she
even-
isn't the one being made fun of in that situation. It is there to emphasize that he is revolting.
This is absolutely it. Absolutely. I, for my part, still feel very much the same, that there were some great moments in this, but ultimately the whole thing just felt a little bit short of my expectations. I felt like more could have been done. I would have liked to have seen more of the world building, more of the characters, more tension, more drama, more of the docile. Everything just felt about as much as was necessary just to get the episode going. So it wasn't bad. It did not reach the heights that I've come to expect of Deep Space Nine, even this early in season 2. So no complaints, but no real accolades from me, I must say.
It's no move along home.
You see, we have very different value systems getting calibrated here, but I do see as well, Kat frequently pops up in Star Trek ship posting, a group we both enjoy, and they're very, very good at illustrating what is good about Move Along Home. And I think you are one of the main movers behind this mass reevaluation of Move Along Home. I'm seeing more and more people in the comments being like, maybe it wasn't that bad. So
I think it's just a slept upon treasure. I think that when people are revisiting Deep Space Nine, they're like, do you know what? Actually, this episode bangs. It's amazing. I'm not a sole voice shouting into the darkness.
No.
Loads of people think this. They just, until now, haven't had the bravery to stand up and say it. We like Alan Moraine. It's fun. Okay?
Captain 2, Alan Moraine, then 2 more. Yeah, I'm going to take a bit more convincing. I still feel that episode was just too wacky for words, but so it goes, But we are still establishing this level of comedy that Deep Space Nine can do, and I think it still feels, in a way, slightly more natural than TNG. TNG has done comedy episodes, and obviously everything that John Delancey touches as Q is gold, But it was him creating it, whereas Deep Space Nine, it feels more like the comedy flows naturally from the main cast rather than being confronted with something external that makes them somehow funny. So
yeah, definitely. I think that the relationships between the characters and the way that the characters are in themselves is so charming, and there's just so much more to be mined from it. Which I think would probably be my only complaint with this episode. Like the last one, we didn't have so many conversations between the main cast members. It was mostly cast members interacting with the new person. So yeah, 2 episodes like that in a row. I hope the next one will have a slightly different format.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what we get. Just before we depart as well, I noticed in the chat, Bakery Dragon asked me if I wanted more world building, and it gives me a great opportunity to nip back to the very casual reference to the Dominion, which Kat knows is going to be very significant in the future, but doesn't know why, because obviously that's not been said. And looking at Memory Alpha, I realised that the creators themselves had no idea at this point. They literally had the idea of thinking,
oh wow,
we need to start putting some shape on the Gamma Quadrant. It's right next door. We're going to be exploring it. And I read, interestingly, further down, that they compare it to the still emerging Voyager, which I don't think has gone live by this point. I think it's later on in this season that Voyager takes off. But they are going through another unexplored quadrant of the galaxy, meeting new people. So the intention was actually, yes, Robert Hewitt Wolf, a very significant contributor to DS Science Script, says Voyager was going to be wandering through the Delta Quadrant from place to place, meeting new people every week, and we wanted to make the Gamma Quadrant distinctly different from that by creating the Dominion, a sort of spoiler, just to give it a completely different character. So they had literally, I think, the name and a rough idea of what it was going to be, and nothing else.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's the delicate type of world building. And the last thing I'm going to end on there is that it stands in complete contrast to a somewhat surprisingly familiar show, Babylon 5, which I believe arrived with a thick phone book of a script Bible from J. Michael Straczynski, who knew everything that was going to happen in that show from start to finish.
The Bible that was shown to producers at Paramount in case they wanted to pick up the show, and oh no, we won't actually. We're going to have our own show set on a space station with overarching stories. Where did we get that from? Sue Paramount. Anyway,
for legal reasons, we can no longer continue pursuing this line of questioning.
But yes, Babylon 5, he planted things in the writer, James Krasinski, planted things in the early episodes which don't come to fruition until series 3 or 4.
Which is
He
incredible.
very much built it all in right from the beginning, which Star Trek is not accustomed to doing. They
No.
try and set something up which they think will be able to keep rolling for several seasons, but for whatever reason, they don't plot it all out as in depth as they do. It's very much about individual episodes and not so much about through running themes, at least to begin with.
Exactly.
And Deep Space Nine is very conscientiously trying to step away from that format.
Which is exactly the kind of world building that I felt was a little bit missing from this episode. So that very convoluted way was how I wanted to answer your question, Bakery Dragon. Thank you for posing it. World building is what I love most. I love the depth of the universe that Deep Space Nine creates. And like Kat says, I hope that future episodes will give it. Okay. Anything you haven't had the chance to share yourself, Kat?
I don't think so. I think that's everything I can say on this episode. I enjoyed it a great deal. I'm glad we did it. Now I can watch the next one. Yes.
Great. And we will hopefully be back very, very soon. The plan is the next couple of weeks. We will be back with Necessary Evil, I think.
Ooh, a goth clothes brand.
Is it excellent? Is that right? Yes, it is.
What's the next one?
It looks like an Odo.
I think it's another Quark episode, isn't it? Or it features Quark.
You're right. Yes, Quark and
two in a row.
Odo.
Quark and Odo, though.
That's going to be good. So, just last chance to say thank you so much to everyone who joined us in chat, who are always a delight, and your messages are wonderful and many, and sometimes difficult for us to actually engage with whilst we also do this. But thank you so very much, all of you, and particularly Lieutenant Indoor Cat, our loyal bridge member who keeps the whole show running, without whom we could do nothing. So thank you, Lieutenant Cat. Okay. Right.
Thank you, everybody. And yeah, live long and prosper. We'll hopefully see you in a fortnight.
And prosper. See you in a couple of weeks.